Hello class, today we shall be discussing the poem La Belle Dame sans Merci by John Keats. I have already given you an introduction about the poet John Keats in yesterday's class. Alright, now before we begin with the poem, let's look at the title. I know you must have been confused looking at the title. Some of you might have noticed that this title seems French, right? So the title is French, but the poem is in English. This title, La Belle Dame sans Merci, which is translated into The Beautiful Woman Without Pity. La Belle Dame sans Merci can be translated into The Beautiful Woman Without Pity. Alright, so this title is taken from the title of another French poem. Alright, so this poem is in English, written by John Keats, but Keats borrowed this title from another poem which was written in French on courtly love by Alain Chartier, probably in the year 1424. So a very old poem written by Alain Chartier. And the poem was about courtly love. Courtly love means, the love that happens in court, not in the lawyer's sort of court, the king's court, okay, between noble women and knights and nobles and dukes and all of those people. So about courtly love, this poem was this original poem, and Keats has borrowed the title of that poem for his own ballad. All right. Keats wrote this poem as a ballad. Now I am sure you've heard of the word ballad. Okay, ballad is actually a form of poetry that tells a story. We had studied L'Auchinleau earlier, and L'Auchinleau, as I told you, was also a ballad, and it was telling us a story about L'Auchinleau. So here also this particular poem is going to tell us a story. Alright, ballad was a popular form of writing poetry in the medieval times, and it was revived by the romantic poets. So Keats is not a medieval poet, he is a romantic poet. Okay, romantic not in the sense that you understand romantic. Romantic period is a period in English literary history where you have the more Old English period, medieval period, Elizabethan age, Victorian age, Augustan age. Similarly, we have the Romantic age. Okay, and this was the age where writers like Wordsworth and Keats and Coleridge were writing. All right. So Keats was a romantic poet, and this form of ballad writing was actually something that was practiced by medieval writers of the English language, but it was revived. It became popular again in the Romantic period, and this was a form of revolt against the neoclassical form of poetry. Okay, now neoclassical age came just before the Romantic age, and it was very formal. They believed in reviving this classical style of writing form poetry, which was very rigid about formal subjects. The subject should be grand and great. You should not write about simple things like daffodils and flowers and ladies in the garden. Okay, so the romanticists were against this neoclassical ideals of writing poetry, and they revived the ballad form as a revolt against the ideas that were being propagated about writing poetry, because in ballads you tell a story, and the story can be about anyone or anything. Okay, and it's not a very fixed, rigid sort of manner of writing poetry. La Belle Dame sans Merci exhibits many features of a ballad. Okay, it has many features of a ballad, such as simplicity. Okay, it has the simplicity of language. The language is quite simple. There is repetition of certain words, certain phrases. There is narration. That means a story is being told through the use of imagery rather than details. Okay, so it's not that, just like we were discussing earlier about negative capability, and I told you how there's no explanation, or there's no going after reason and fact. All right, fancy is celebrated. So there's a lot of imagery that is being used, but the details of the story are given through imagery rather than explaining the entire process. And there is also some supernatural elements that are present in this particular ballad, and that is also a characteristic feature of writing ballads. All right, so this I'll explain what the poem is about only towards the end, because I don't want to take away um, the climax of the poem. So there's a beautiful woman without mercy, and that is evident to us when we read the title itself. Okay, so to begin with, let's read the poem once and see how it sounds. As I've told you earlier, how a poem sounds is very important. So when I read it out, I want you to open your text and read out the poem along with me. And you can listen to the sounds that are there, you can listen to the rhyme, and you can immediately identify how the rhyme scheme is. Alright, so let's read. Oh, what can ail thee, knight at arms? Alone and palely loitering, the sedge has withered from the lake, and no birds sing. Oh, what can ail thee, knight at arms? So haggard and so woe begone, the squirrel's granary is full, and the harvest's done. I see a lily on thy brow, with anguish moist and fever dew, and on thy cheek a fading rose, fast withered too. I met a lady in the meads, full beautiful, a fairy's child. Her hair was long, her foot was light, and her eyes were wild. I made a garland for her head, and bracelets drew, and fragrance sown. She looked at me as she did love, and made sweet moan. I set her on my pacing steed, and nothing else saw all day long, for sidelong would she bend and sing a fairy song. She found me roots of relish sweet, and honey wild, and manna dew, and sure in language strange, she said, I love thee true. She took me to her elfin grot, and there she wept and sighed full sore, and there I shut her wild, wild eyes with kisses full. And there she lulled me asleep, and there I dreamed. Ah, woe betide! The latest dream I ever dreamed on the cold hillside. I saw pale kings and princes too, pale warriors, death pale were they all. They cried, La Belle Dame sans mercy hath thee in thrall. I saw their starved lips in the gloam, with horrid warning gaped wide, and I awoke and found me here on the cold hillside. And this is why I sojourn here, alone and palely loitering, though the sedge is withered from the lake and no birds sing. I hope you enjoyed that reading. Now let's move on and look at the first stanza. Okay, we'll be going it line by line, stanza by stanza. So let's look at the first stanza. As you can see, I don't know if you noticed, but there are 4 lines in every stanza. Okay, so let's look at the first 4 lines of the ballad. Oh, what can ail thee, knight at arms? Alone and palely loitering, the sedge has withered from the lake, and no birds sing. So, from the first line itself, we can understand that the protagonist, the main character here, is a knight. Okay, a knight at arms. Who is a knight at arms? A knight who is a chivalrous soldier. I'm sure you're familiar with that. And these soldiers were very common during the medieval period to the Renaissance period, and they were very well versed with arms, in the sense that they were very good with their weapons and swords. All right, and they used to serve as fully armored heavy cavalrymen. That means they used to wear that fully covered suit of metal. All right, and Keats, by introducing such a subject or such a character into the ballad, is trying to create a medieval ambience of fairy tale. You know, it's almost like we're listening to a fairy tale. So he's trying to create that ambience by including this character of the knight. Okay, so knight at arms means this knight is wearing his full suit, and he's in full armor. Okay, so the first line is sort of like a question. It's been asked, oh, what can ail thee, knight at arms? Okay, what can ail thee? What can ail means what is causing you difficulty, or what is the matter with you? All right, why are you standing there all alone and palely loitering? Loitering means just walking up and down without any purpose. all right, and he's loitering like he's tired. So why, what has happened to you? What is disturbing you that you are standing alone and you look so tired as you walk by? All right. The sedge has withered from the lake and no birds sing. Sedge means in these wet marshy places, okay, ആ സ്ഥലങ്ങളിൽ ഉണ്ടാവുന്ന ഒരു type, it's a grass like plant, okay. So what it shows is that it's sort of a winter season, because you know the lake, from the lake the sedge has withered. That means, you know, everything is withering and dying, so that means it's winter time. So people are not usually out in winter times, right? It's not a comfortable time to be outside like this. And it is withering means it's decaying and slowly disappearing. So this signifies autumn climate or the start of winter, all right. And this is a very good landscape that the poet uses. Why, we will discuss that towards the end, okay. So that is the first four lines. Someone, an unknown speaker, is asking the knight at arms what is the matter with him, why is he looking so alone and tired, and why he is walking around in this winter time when everything is already decaying and dying. He should be somewhere else, he shouldn't be here. Let's look at the next four lines. Oh, what can ail thee, knight at arms, so haggard and so woe begone? The squirrel's granary is full, and the harvest is done. Okay, so again the same question is being, see, repetition is coming. Oh, what can ail thee, knight at arms? Again he's asking, again, tell me, what is wrong? Okay. Oh, so haggard and so woe begone. Haggard means he looks very tired and ill, okay, and it looks like he has some dark skin under his eyes. He looks very sad. Woe begone means very sad. Why do you look so tired and, you know, so bad looking? With, you look sick almost, and you almost look like, you know, you're very sad. Why are you looking like that? What has happened to you? The squirrel's granary is full. Again, this is an indication to the climate and why the knight shouldn't be here. He's in a wrong place. Okay, the granary is the large building where they store grains. So the squirrel's granary is like those tree holes that you see in your cartoons, where they, you know, the holes in the trees where the squirrels they keep all the things. They collect all the grains and food materials during the summer and spring and all of that, and they keep it inside and store it for the winter when they cannot go outside to forage things, right? So the squirrel's granary is full. That means even the animals are prepared for the winter. They have already collected everything that they need, okay, and the harvest is done. So what it means is that the autumn climate has come to an end. Winter is starting, and everyone is trying to seek protection and, you know, staying indoors. So what are you doing here in such a climate? Okay, so the first two stanzas are setting the stage for us. All right, we know that we have a character who's a knight. We know that he looks very tired and sad for some reason which is not revealed to us right now. Okay, we see the season is winter, and it does not seem to be a good time for someone like a knight to be just walking around. Let's look at the third stanza, sorry. I see a lily on thy brow with anguish moist and fever dew, and on thy cheeks a fading rose, fast withered too. Okay, so he says that your forehead, okay, looks like very pale. Okay, your forehead looks very pale. I see a lily on thy brow. Lily is that white flower, like pale flower. So your forehead looks that much white and pale, almost like a lily. All right, and it looks like you must have had a fever with anguish moist and fever dew. Okay, that means, you know, anguish is that extreme unhappiness that is caused by physical or mental suffering, according to your glossary. Okay, so that you look so anguished, like, you know, you went through some sort of trauma, you have some extreme unhappiness that has happened, and your forehead looks like that. It looks like you have a fever, it's so white. Okay, and on thy cheeks a fading rose, fast withered too. Okay, And fading rose is actually a poetic image signifying the youthful vigor and happiness that has departed from the life of the night. Okay, so there is, you know, when the cheeks are rose in color, rosy cheeks, we have that nursery rhyme which is very very racist to talk about, but let's not go there. So the rosy cheeks signifies what? It signifies youth, it signifies beauty, it signifies health. Okay, but here the cheeks have a fading rose. That means his something has happened, bad has happened to him. The color on his cheek is fading, and it is fast withered too. It means it's fast going away. All right, it's fast leaving on the little rose color that is there on his face, that is also going away. So what has happened to our night? Well, that is a suspense that we will break in the next hour. All right, so this is all that I'm going to deal with today. Please read the poem till this part, and as we did with Loshinwar, please paraphrase. That means stanza 1, what is happening? Stanza 2, what is happening? Do that during the rest of this hour. Okay, that's why I'm dealing with only such small portions in every hour, so that you can do your study during this particular time and you don't need to use any other time for that. All right, so I hope that you'll use your time wisely, and I hope that you are uh, in a suspenseful mood, thinking of what is going to happen and what has happened to the night. So we'll see that on Monday. All right, thank you.